Hey, Captain Garage, how you doing? Yeah, just doing some renders for a game. Thought I might as well stream while I'm doing it. Morning, Rude. How you doing, my friend? Yeah, that's what we like to see. Sounds like that render's done. Since my GPU has just gone, yep, there we go. Nice. Right, that's cool. So that's probably the only exterior shot I'm going to do of this scene. Back to camera 2. Bring Lucy back in. And let's find another camera angle. We need to probably get Sarah in at least one shot. So that's what we're going to do. Bring that plane back in. I think we might need Sarah in this shot. Maybe. Didn't realise she was sunk into the floor so much with her arm. Let's fix that. Let's fix that. Select Sarah. The right tool selected. That always helps as well. We're going to go with the shoulder twist. And she's not sunk into the floor quite so much now. Ooh. Right, let's move her. Can we move the plane without it screwing things up? Alright, we'll just have to not include that part in the scene. What have I just done? Spin the camera up. Depends on what resolution the characters are. If they're full 4 subdivisions, then might run out of VRAM. But for example, in this shot, Jake's not in the shot at all, so I can just hide him. Sarah's barely in the shot, so I don't need to put her resolution up, so I can select her in mesh resolution. I can just drop the sub D down to 0, because there's absolutely no point having a full resolution. So I can put some depth of field on it because the camera's pointed at Lucy. She's looking down at Sarah, but she's not, you know, the camera isn't going to look at Sarah fully on. So it doesn't matter. When Daz Studio eventually wakes up, we create a new camera. And use active viewport transforms. Add some depth field. Drop that down. That's only going to be about 1.5 meters or thereabouts, I reckon. Not far off. Bloody hell, that's not a bad guess. And again, aiming it at her face, making sure it's on her face. We're going to go really shallow with this one. Right, I've turned down the HDRI brightness, so we may have to adjust it again. But first thing I want to do is get her to look down. So we're going to unbend this arm slightly. And we're going to bend that wrist back as though she's kind of... And then we're going to get her to look down, but I'm going to put a null in the scene. Or I might just use the perspective view camera, that might be easier. And come down to here. My goodness me, come on, Mr. Daz Studio, wakey wakey. Hands off sneaky. Now we go to camera 4 again. Boom. Let's see how that looks in preview mode. Okay, so I just need to turn up the HDRI again. I might need to rotate the HDRI as well, because I have done that. I'll go back to the one that I used previously for the interior shots. Just got to locate it. Oh, you know what, I'll just browse for it again. It's probably quicker. Probably quicker. And it was... I believe it was that one. I may be wrong. It's a bit dark. Could change the tone mapping. I might just fix it in post. I can't remember how bright I had it now. Was it 50? Well, that's certainly brighter. Yeah, that'll do. It'll work. Once I've fixed it in post, it'll look great. Give my GPU a second to get its shit together. Ooh, 44 subs, guys. 44 subs away from the big green 10. Morning, Erical. Excuse me. Yeah, going back to your question, Rude. The realistically, if you're using depth of field, the odds of you having 3 or more full resolution characters in your shot in focus at the same time, there's only a few kind of cases where that's necessary, compositionally speaking. Like if you're in a conversation, you don't need to be seeing all 3 people at once unless you're like doing a Saturday Night Live kind of set where all the characters are in focus at the same time. But like you look at this is a prime example. You've got 3 characters in the scene, but because it's a conversation, you only actually need to be focused on one excuse me, at any time, so you can keep the rest low resolution and out of focus. Massively speed up your renders because the amount of geometry that involved is considerably less. It's not always a perfect solution, but in this case it helps. You know, Jake's 9 shots, he doesn't need to be in the scene at all, and Sarah's not in focus at all. She's just a indistinct kind of beige blob in the bottom of the screen, so she doesn't need to be in focus either, so she can just be 0 sub D. Boom, 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 boom. Do apologise about the I've just had breakfast. Oh my goodness. I have actually started scripting, or rather sort of planning some patrons only videos where I'm going to talk about the less. Yeah, never tell a girl she's a blob. Yeah, that always goes down really well. Does my bum look big in this? Yes. Start doing some more some patron videos for the less Facebook friendly stuff. If anything, just because like I've got some really awesome patrons, they don't have 0 expectations of what I'm going to. There every now and again you'll get one who becomes a patron thinking that they're going to get all kinds of swag or something, and they only last for like a few days before they unpatron. But most people just want to support the channel. But I need to start doing more stuff for the patrons because they've been really awesome thus far. I just need a couple more render review submissions, and there's going to be a special guest reviewer in the next episode, who I think you should all appreciate. There's another version, another bug fix of Ren'Py out as well, so that's good. And I'm trying to get someone on to talk about that as well. I got a little bit of information. So you remember I did a podcast like 2 weeks ago about Findom. Or Findom was one of the topics that I talked about. I got in touch with a few sites just to ask for their input, really. And OnlyFans responded saying that Findom isn't allowed on OnlyFans because it breaches their terms and conditions or their terms of service, which is interesting. I'm not actually a user of OnlyFans in any way, but I had considered trying to use OnlyFans as a platform for like selling my work, but no. Really hard to get authenticated on there these days. Anyway, by the by. So the representative from OnlyFans that I spoke to was very clear about it. Said no, if it's not really up to me, mate. As far as I know, you can't just. Well, I don't know anything about you, Demi. I was under the impression it was like lynda.com that you had to be invited to present a course. I'm not saying no, I would love to do it. But most of the stuff that I would put in the Udemy is stuff that I've already got on this channel anyway. But if they want me to do a course, same with lynda.com, if they want me to do a course, I'm more than happy to do so. Hey, Bob. Yeah, I do. I understand how Udemy works from the customer's point of view, but I don't know how it works from the creator's point of view. I don't know if they have to invite you like it is with lynda.com, or if you can just submit a course and they feature it. I don't really know. Like it's something that I'm interested in, but I haven't had much time to look into. But I find the quality of the courses on Udemy to be very hit and miss. That's not to say, again, I'm interested in doing it, but just haven't looked into how I would go about it. iRay is easier to use, for sure, but Blender is dramatically better than Daz Studio is for creating, because it has the advantage over Daz that you can actually create in Blender, whereas in Daz all you can do is repurpose. You can repurpose and tweak, but creating your own content means using the likes of Blender and ZBrush anyway, so Daz is just a render engine. Promoting your games, well, there's many ways many avenues you can go down. It depends on how you plan on selling your work, really. If you're going to go down the Steam route and sell your game on Steam, then Steam do a lot of the promotion for you. Whereas if you're planning on distributing the game yourself, then you really have to hit everything. Like, bearing in mind that marketing anything is a full-time job for a team of people. So if you're tackling this on your own, you're already at a disadvantage, so you're going to have to work your nuts off to promote it on social media, promote it on game forums, do press releases for websites. They're going to have to be different press releases for every single website you release it to as well, because that's how they work. They don't want, they don't want cut and paste generic stuff, because it has to be something that's interesting, so you have to do a lot of build up as well, like let the big games magazines know that you've got a title coming, that you're, they're going to say, we don't care, you're a nobody and all that sort of thing. So you're just going to have to plug away and promote it in as many places as possible without doing the whole spamming people's channels or spamming social media and stuff, because you don't want to go down the negative route of marketing. There's good marketing, which is promoting it via a page, paying for adverts, and then there's parasitic marketing, where you just leech off other people's success and you post links in comments and stuff. 9 times out of 10 people will ignore it and they'll just block you for it. It depends on the character. If it's something like, for example, the Borderlands characters, their geometry isn't that complicated, but the scale, the skins, and the textures are more complicated, and the cell shading is actually done by the engine itself. So, for that kind of character, I would probably just build the character in Blender and then focus a lot of my attention on shaders and textures. Realistically, if you want to make a character for a game, it's better off using your own work. So building it in something like ZBrush and rigging it yourself, and then using it in the likes of Daz or Blender or Maya to render it out. If you're trying to replicate someone else's work so that you can use it in one of your own spoofs or fan art or something like that, I would... The thing with... It depends on the character as well, because you've got some characters that are all about the costume, haven't you? So you could use something like Marvelous Designer to build the costumes and then concentrate on that. But to be honest, the #1 content creation for like characters and things like that is always going to be ZBrush. But you know, you sculpt them and then you can create displacement and normal maps for them in ZBrush natively, and then all you have to worry about is the texturing afterwards. So I would advise using the likes of ZBrush. You're never going to get anywhere close realistically using Daz Studio, because the morphs, you're limited to what the morphs are, and you know there are so many permutations of the human face. DNA is quite remarkable stuff. There's never going to be enough morphs in Daz Studio to get realistically as close as you can. Copying other characters that have been made in Daz Studio is easy because they were created in Daz Studio, so sooner or later you're going to come across the right combination of morphs. But if you're trying to replicate an actual human being or a character created in a different piece of software, then you're limited to how close you can get. Whereas in the likes of ZBrush, you can sculpt every single vertex to exactly where you want it to be. And you can do it relatively quickly, but then that involves learning how to use ZBrush really well and being good at sculpting. I'm rapidly becoming very aware that whilst I'm good at rendering, I'm good at putting together scenes and composing them and editing them in post, my actual sculpting is severely lacking. And I could spend months or years trying to learn how to do that. But if I ever do turn my ventures into an actual business, I'm not going to do any of that on my own. That's always going to be something that I'll hire someone who's professional for that. So, funnily enough, I did the little read where I was reading Socrates, or reading Plato's Apology, which is Socrates' trial. And one of the things that Socrates has said, one of his like legacy philosophies, I suppose, is that, and I'm paraphrasing here, but you can't be good at everything. You can't be wise or an expert at everything. You just got to be good at the one thing you're good at and find other people that are good at what they're good at and not try to be a generalist. Being a generalist just is there's a phrase in the UK, being the jack of all trades, master of none, and that is extremely relevant when it comes to game development. You can try and learn all the skills. You can try and be good at creating 3D assets and coding and editing and all of that sort of thing, but realistically you're better off becoming really good at one thing and then surrounding yourself with people that are good at all the other things. So, you know, spreading out the work. I know it's hard to hear because I'm the same. I want to do everything. I want control over every aspect of my games, but I'm very quickly becoming aware now that there aren't enough hours in the day for me to do all of those things. The beauty of Ren'Py is that the the code level is quite low, in so you can be a 3D artist who's really good at 3D art and still learn to put together a very basic Ren'Py game without having to learn an entirely new language, because Python is kind of pseudo-English, you know? Depends on the hairstyle. If you can find a hairstyle in the Daz Studio marketplace that is what you're after, then that's great. But again, Ren'Py, sorry, ZBrush has got amazing tools for creating hair, and you haven't all got to create it all in a one. You can create the character, then you can create the hair separately and put them together. It's ZBrush is an amazing piece of software, but it does take a lot of practice to be good at. Like, that's why I use it for creating morphs on my characters, but in terms of like full-blown using it to create a character from scratch, I wouldn't waste my time doing it, because I know it would be a waste of time. Yeah, precisely. You know, it's like New World, prime example of that. You get every level, you get 2 skill points that you can assign to, like in Fallout, your special characteristics. And you think, oh, I don't know what I want to be, so I'll put a bit of everything, and then you end up with a really mediocre character because they don't excel at anything, and they just get wiped every single time you get into a fight. Game development is exactly the same principle. You just need to be good at one thing, be really good at that one thing, and then team up with other people that can fill the skill gaps. Yeah, it's not an easy interface to use. Some of the stuff in there is really counterintuitive, like they call models brushes, and that threw me off straight away. You can do it with a mouse, but it's very... ZBrush is kind of like a very analog way of doing it, because you're actually shaving bits off, adding bits on, you're making very fine adjustments, and having the ability to use the pressure of a pen tablet makes that easier. You can do it with a mouse and just set the pressure really low, so that every pass you do with your brush, or every sweep you do with your brush, has a very minimum effect. But you can get a Huion tablet now, pen tablet, really cheap. Like, I've got this one. As you can see, it's pretty big, and this was really not expensive. Really not expensive, and it's got 8 buttons on it. It's got a massive work area, which I barely use any of. I only use an area about that big, because I don't want to have to move my arm. You know, I just want to move my wrist to do the drawing and stuff. So, you know, you can get pen tablets really cheap nowadays. This video is not sponsored by Huion. I can wish it was. How does people do the scenes where the camera starts at the legs and slowly rises to the face? Just make a really big image and move the image in Ren'Py. Make it 1980 across, and then like 10,000 high, or however, that's probably a bit of an exaggeration, but however high the character is, render the whole image, and then just move the image on the screen using a transform in Ren'Py. Or as Aracore says, render out the animation with the camera moving, but that'll take you a long time. Yes, I know I'm humming Blackpink. What can I say? It's catchy. While that's rendering, let's open Ren'Py. Marvelous. Right, let's create a new project. 1980 by 1080, 1920 by 1080, blue, she'll do. She'll do. If you are a sort of a member of Udemy or lynda.com or anything like that, there's usually some really good tutorials on there for like using 3ds Max, Blender, ZBrush. No. In a nutshell. It's just a third party. So you think about all of the properties. If you learn how to use the properties tab, your surfaces tab and the properties tab, I should say, you can do all of that stuff. You don't need to buy a third party product to do that for you. Just learn how to use the surfaces tab and save yourself the money. Sorry, that sounded really dickish. I do apologise. I didn't mean to come across that way. I'm just saying, like, that this whole channel is about saving money and not spending money on things that you can do yourself. And realistically, all that is a script that changes properties in the surfaces tab. There aren't that many sliders in there, so I would just play with that and get the results you want. I try to be. Not always successful, but I try. I'm having to tone down my shtick a little bit as well, because every now and again I watch back my videos where I'm doing it, and it makes me cringe. But most live streams, I watch back on those, and I'm like, I probably didn't come across as I meant to. Sarcasm is a really difficult thing to portray online in video, because people just don't know who you are. Do you know what I mean? Like, people don't know me as a person, so they don't know I'm being sarcastic. They actually think I'm like ragging on other creators and stuff, and it's just like, no. I'm genuinely thrilled that Daz Studio has got such a huge community on YouTube. I don't necessarily like all of the content that's put out, but that's my personal preference, the same as it is anybody else's. I don't like the content where the people stand there for 10 minutes at the beginning of the video talking into the camera. Daz Studio isn't even on the screen at this point, talking about how great they are. That kind of, it's like, really? Do you need to do that? Let's just talk about what people are here to see. But there are some dudes out there creating some good content on animations, which is something that I just don't touch because I'm not an animator. I'm not competent enough. I can throw together a little animation where the camera moves and things like that, but I wouldn't pretend to be an expert animator as far as I'm concerned. There are much better applications out there for doing animations. That is not one of them that I would choose. But there are guys out there who are doing good animation tutorials, so fair play to them, you know. Hey Jordan, how you doing, man? Not seen you for a while. It has completed. Let's add a project folder. Right, in the game folder, create a new folder. No, don't want to search in folder, sod off. What the hell is this crap? Get rid of that too. New folder. Scripts. Just been adulting. Yeah, you and me both, man. It is a big learning curve. And you get fanboys who will argue the toss. Oh yeah, no, Daz Studio is amazing for animating because you can do frame by frame animation. So you're like, what? So it has the bare minimum criteria achieved for being an animation software in that you can edit frame by frame. It doesn't have any other tools that you can use. It doesn't have any soft body physics. It doesn't have the ability to collide with other surfaces or anything. Diffeomorphic add-on for Blender. I haven't, no. I've tried the character creator, which is awesome. But I haven't had a go with any other of the other add-ons. The blah, 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 blah. You know what I mean. Let's create a new folder inside that folder and call it screens. Right, first thing we're going to do is create a new file called, say, _screen.rpy. Daz to Blender. Oh, okay. I haven't given it a try. Let's cut out this and this. Get that, put it into this one. Side image, we're not going to do a phone variant of this game, so we will do that. That is our say screen. Yeah. Well, it's not even that. It's like I get comments on my videos, like the animation videos I did like 1.5 years, 2 years ago, where I said basically this is how you do it, but it's crap, so don't use it. Like a load of fanboys leave comments on it all the time, going, you obviously just crap at animation because you don't know what you're talking about. And I was like, I never said I did. Literally, the trailer for the channel used to say I don't know what I'm talking about. I'm just telling you the things I've learned. And then the thing is, they then proceed to disqualify their own expertise by saying, yeah, but it's got frame-by-frame animation, which is everything you need. It's like, no, it's not. Even like Source Filmmaker, which isn't even really an animation software, in the sense that you use characters that are from the Source game engine and jiggle around, even that has got physics. Like, the closest Daz Studio comes to having any kind of physics is D-Force, and that is, as I think we can all agree, incredibly labor intensive and incredibly buggy. Right, what's next in our screens? Choice screen? Input screen. Alright, yeah, that'll work. Input. No, that's not how you spell input, is it? Input screen, RPY, Control V, Control S. Boom. Done. Now we can get rid of this nonsense. And we can get rid of this nonsense. Choice screen. Yeah, precisely. it's amazing for what it does. It does really good still renders using iRay, and at that, it's really good. Plenty of problems, but you know, it does what it's meant to do. All the extra functionality has just been shoehorned in. Crap, what was that quick menu? And as is always the case with functionality that's been shoehorned in after the fact, it's really buggy. And does a really terrible job of it. Navigation. Come on, give me that. There we go. And all the way down to there. Well, precisely. I mean, you've got software out there like Maya and 3ds Max are the two that I always refer to as being like the industry standard, because they are. But there's, you know, Cinema 4D and all that sort of stuff as well. Amazing software, huge amounts of functionality, all the tools that you need to create professional grade animations. By the time you've created a professional grade animation and Blender, yeah. By the time you've learned to do you've managed to create a animation at that level in Daz Studio, you could have learned to use Blender, Maya, 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, and done it in them instead. A lot easier and a lot higher standard. Control X. Now this is the main menu. But people are funny. They think because I'm saying that Daz is no good, that I'm in some way insulting their family or something. It's like, no, I'm just telling the truth. Calls it how I sees it. You might be wondering what the frick I'm doing. I'm splitting out my screens.rpy into separate screen files so that editing them later is easier. Blender is an absolute enigma in that it is such a contender and is a non-profit organization. It's like, you know, it's funded by a bunch of guys. Some of the products that you can buy for it obviously cost money, but the actual base software itself, which has all the functionality you need, is completely free. I mean, it's amazing when you think about it. Right, I'm going to delete the About screen because we don't need it. We don't care about the About screen. No one wants to read about me. Load and save screens are basically the same screen, so we'll put those in the same file. Yeah, definitely. Definitely a unicorn. No argument here. A preferences screen? No. Massive waste of code there. Pref label, don't care about that. Pref label text, pref, get rid of that stuff. Anything else with pref? No. History screen, don't need that. Get rid of that. GUI history. Help screen. Keep that for now. No, I won't. You know what? I'm going to get rid of that as well. I'm going to create my own. Gamepad help. Ah, crap. What did I just do? Oh, I just entered. I meant to press shift and I pressed enter instead. Dang it. Right to you. Confirm screen. We don't want to. We do want that. Sorry. That's like we can't close the game down without the confirm screen. Get rid of that. Right over you and you. Sorry, I missed a load of people talking there. Missed the conversation. Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Aracore is the, as we said, like Maya, 3ds Max, Blender, all software that have much better animation functionality built in. Always going to be a million times better than Daz. Daz was not built to be an animation suite. The Discord, it still exists. If you check one of my more recent videos, there should be a link in the description of one of those. Yeah, no, I wasn't pooping on Daz. Like I said, I use it. My entire YouTube channel, like I would say probably 9,000 out of the 10,000 subs that I've got are people who I want to see Daz Studio content. I've built my YouTube channel around it. Certainly not saying it's crap. I'm saying it's amazing at what it's meant to do, but don't use it for animation. Save yourself the pain. It's just not worth it. There are ways of migrating your characters to other software where it's far better suited for the job. I'm not actually planning on using the skip indicator because I'm going to disable. No, I'm not going to disable skipping actually at all. I'm going to disable rollback because rollback is for retards. Joking, before anyone gets all triggered. Yeah, exactly. You have to learn the fundamentals, absolutely. And that's why I like Python so much, because it is like so similar to pseudocode in the way that you... Right, do I need the notify screen? Yeah, exactly. You can get... I don't know, mate. I haven't actually kicked anybody from the server. Are you sure you're going to the right server? Because I deleted one server. I don't really modify. I don't really moderate the Discord server. Do I really care about the notify screen? Yeah, I suppose I better put that in its own screen as well. I don't know what to say then, my friend. I honestly don't. I just create the server. What happens after that is to Discord. NVL. I'm not going to use NVL. Not going to use NVL at all. Get rid of all of that. Get rid of all the mobile variant stuff. As I said, Bob, I don't really know what to say. I just create the Discord server and let it run. If the only time I will ever get involved in the Discord server in terms of moderation if someone oversteps. And I've only had to do that once to my memory. Right, so now we can rename this file to styles.rpy. Rename. And that can now go into the screens folder as well. And we can get rid of screens.rpyc because we don't need a compiled version of that anymore. Beautiful. Next, go into script, delete all that nonsense, delete all that jibber jabber. Delete all that. Boom. Options. Get rid of. My Apple Watch is alarming at me. It's alarmed. Oh my god. Apparently it thinks it's 6:30 on a Tuesday. I should probably sync it with my new phone. Right, I'm back in a sec, guys. I'm just going to go and make myself a cup of tea. All right. I am back. Cool, so that's that one done. Bit grainy. Maybe I'll re-render that with some fresh settings. Give it a moment to wake up. Progressive rendering on. Go with 98%. Rendering quality, we'll go with 4. Max samples was probably what held me up. Turn up max samples and max time. Hit render. And then come back to. And pop that over there. Nope. You're just making extra work. Any of the render engines that come as bolt-ons to like Daz Studio. iRay is the one that's intrinsic, is integral to Daz Studio. So that's the one you have to do zero faffing around with. All the extras, you have to replace shaders and all sorts. Just make him work for yourself. I know there's people out there who swear by it and go, yeah, but it's so much quicker. And it's like, is it though? If a well-optimized scene in Daz Studio, provided you're not exceeding your VRAM requirements, is pretty quick, considering what you're asking it to do. I wouldn't waste your time learning Octane. I don't have any confidence in Filament. And what else is there? Reality. Bear in mind that, like, NVIDIA and all of the GPU manufacturers have spent decades trying to perfect ray tracing. And we're finally at the stage now where ray tracing is a reality because we've got GPUs that are powerful enough, and now everyone's on about PBR. Ray tracing, if I'm not mistaken, has actually been around since, what, late 90s? Yeah. Earlier than that. I remember a game on the Amiga which had what they claimed to be ray trace. It was like a space shooter, and there were rocks that rotated and rolled as they came towards you. Asteroids. I can't remember for the life of me what the game was called. But anyway, that claimed to have. So ray tracing's been around for a long time, but in terms of like being able to do it in real time, you know, the RTX graphics cards are there. I know that you can do ray tracing and PBR at the same time because they actually attack the problem of rendering in different areas at different ways. But the point is that Filament is dog crap at the moment. Whereas iRay works. Okay, so we'll leave that rendering, and then we'll get back to the business of working on this. Right. Okay, get rid of that. So we're going to say playing equals true while playing. No, I was meant to say pass, not ask. There we go. Well, I'm going to put a colon at the end of that and tab this in. There we go. Game loop done. I can go home now. Go to sleep. Apart from I need to put a capital P on that because otherwise that ain't going to work. One successfully created game loop. Now to create. Delete that as well. Necessity is the father, mother, brother, any other sucker of ingenuity. New file. Classes. .rpy. Init. Python. Colon. Okay. Oh my god. Properties, do we want it to have self? Has to have name, obviously. I might do a nice name as well. And then I can use yes. It's the beauty of rewriting a game engine after you've written it 3 times already, is that like you learn every single time I write a game engine, I learn from the mistakes of the previous one. So I know how to avoid them. That's better. That's better. And what else do I need right now? Location. Oh, is active. Has met. Has met, not hazmat. Has the character met them, not are they wearing a hazmat suit? And then we can add some more properties afterwards, but for now... Oh my god. Sweet. Property. Avatar. Text equals if Ren'Py.loadable output text return out text, else just return, and then we're gonna go in fact we don't even need to do a format in that one, we'll just put blank images avatars / blank.png. So now we create a blank file to do shiz. And the first thing on our list is going to be create avatars / blank.png. Sweet. I'm going to move that over to the left. That could be my to-do list for now. Good luck with the stream. Thanks very much, Rude. Much appreciated, my friend. Sorry I missed your message if you've gone already. Yeah. I don't need a / there. Get rid of that. Getting overexcited. So what format are we going to give the there is a time of day, going to be a time of day in this game as well, albeit it's not going to be the 24-hour clock like it was in the original version of the game. It'll be like forenoon, afternoon, evening, early morning. It's going to be like broken up into four groups. So we will need a time of day variable. So let's create a new file. I'm going to call this declarations.rpy. And then I'm going to have default time of day. And the default is going to be morning. And then, see, the more I think about it, the more I think I want to have the 24-hour clock in there and not. But it made the day, having the 24-hour clock had the game run a lot slower at the start because there was very little to do. But as the game progresses, you get more and more activities to do. And having only 4 time slots available each part of the day, in each day, really limits what the main character can actually do. So I think what I might do is actually just go with the same old. So we've got day equals 0. We're going to have that as an integer. Hour equals, we'll start off at 9. Minutes equals 0. Day name equals, we'll start off the game on a Monday, of course. We won't bother having months in it. And then weekdays equals, and that's going to be a list. So it's going to say Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, nope, Saturday, Sunday. There's our list of days. And then if I do decide to invent my own universe where the days are called something different, like Flaggy Day, I can just change it there. Yeah. Well, that's true, but that's the kind of thing that leads down the feature creep road, and I don't want to do that again. Like, Deeper is now on its like 5th version where I've rewritten the engine because I keep getting like ideas of things that I do and things that I shouldn't be doing, and it's like blah blah. Excuse me, I'm not tired. It's just getting oxygen to my brain. Right, what I can do in classes is define add time, and that will be days, small d for days, days, hours, minutes, global, and what am I adding? I'm adding day, hour, minutes. Just add all of that. Day, hour, minutes with capital M. Day name. Or would I do that in a separate? No, I better do it all in that one. And then weekdays. Cool. Just need to go to the loo. Back in a mo. I'm back again. Okie dokie. Yeah, but you can do. Sorry, I just like carry on the conversation that we sort of walked out halfway through. You don't necessarily need to have seasons to do that, because what you can do is have a total days counter, and then choose a specific day, like maybe day 180, to be. Thank you. To be your like Christmas day, or to trigger certain events. And that way you can condense the calendar a little bit as well. And then when it gets to day 365, or however many days you want it to be a year in your game, just reset the count to 0. But yeah, because obviously the player is going to rattle through days considerably faster. You can do, to be fair, what I have done in previous permutations of the game is actually have the game access the real date and time, and then that would enable you to actually have. I do apologise about the beeping noise. That would enable you to have Christmas happen at actual Christmas rather than at an arbitrary time in the game universe. If this were a game where the player was going to be playing, like for example World of Warcraft, where you know they're not going to be playing for hours, they're going to be playing for years, I would probably be more interested in doing something like that. But the chances are, even with Deeper being a massive game that it's going to be, the chances are that it's going to be a matter of like they'll play it for a week and then they'll stop playing, or they might replay it. But the chances are they're probably not going to play it for any significant length of time that would warrant me to do something like having seasonal stuff in there. Because I'm not doing this by the Patreon business model, you know. I'm doing this I'm writing the game. When it's finished, I'll sell it. I'll let out preview versions via Patreon or something every now and again, but it's not going to be that. Patreon is not the outlet for this game. That is just a little perk that I'm going to give to my patrons, you know, previews of the game or whatever. Yeah, hopefully. Right, what was I? Oh yeah, I thought of a couple of new properties that I need to give the characters. Messages, because they have phones and they're going to send text messages. Oh crap, there was some bio. Yes, I also need a bio because they're going to have a bio screen. So self.messages equals messages. Self.bio equals bio. Right, right, so we've got the properties coming in. So now all we're going to do is minutes plus equals minutes if minutes greater than or equal to 60, then minutes minus equals 60. Obviously, this does kind of hinge on you not adding more than 60 minutes in one hit. But if you did that, then you would get a bitch slap. And hour plus equals 1. Hour plus equals hours. If hour is greater than or equal to 24, hour minus equals 24, day plus equals 1, day plus equals days. Sorry, I saw a notification from Twitter and it totally threw me off. Oh, it's just Millionaire F. How old are you? Guy. Just Don't know why. I got into NFT, you see. I was interested in maybe creating my own NFT, and I followed a few people, and they just spam Twitter constantly with utter bollocks. Right, if day is greater than or equal to 7, day minus equals 7. Seriously. Bouquet off A. And then we're not counting weeks, so we don't need to do that at all. And then at the end of it, we will say day name equals days day. Cool. So now this is where we add our time, and it does all that there. And then I'll probably have a separate function for just checking the times and not actually adding anything to it. But so obviously when I call this function, I have to remember to input 3 integers and not just 1. Right. Avatars / and then I'm going to put 1 in there. That'll be name. Self.name. Nearly forgot. We're dealing with classes here. Then I'll do another one. Yep, this one's going to be location. Ooh, now interesting. No, that one isn't going to be self.location because we actually want that one to be the location that the character is in, which is going to be just called location. Let's do it with a capital L just for fun. So that one is going to actually just be the location of the character. And time of day, weekday, time of day. Now I've got to remember, let's see, if I go back to reopen project, that one, and I bring that over this side, I can remember how to format my freaking numbers. It's been a minute. Neither really. It's just when I feel like doing one, to be honest. So the time, and I'm gonna have a chapter system, I think. This is where I come unstuck, where I start trying to think about how I'm going to do. I'm going to have a variant. I think I'm going to put in variant, and I'm not talking about Loki here. Oh man, that's a frigging keyword. All right, we'll just put vary. Very. That's cool. So I'll start off with the variant. Underscore, and then time of day will be U, and it'll be colon 0 equals to D underscore. Do we want hours and minutes? Not really. Yeah, I don't really need minutes in this, do I? In fact, I'm going to put day first, then minutes. Variant, then the day, then the hour. .png. That will work. That will work. Underscore day underscore hour. No, that's wrong. Comma hour, you tit. Hour. There we go. Cool. Now I've just got to remember that when I actually start creating my PNG files. Right, let's see how this render's doing. It's already less noisy than the previous one, so that's good. We'll leave that running for a bit longer. Leave that cooking for a bit. Right, I suppose I should probably start building another class. Right, we've got NPCs. We've got time. And grab that. I'm going to do some messing with people's heads. I'm going to stick this in my code, which I'm just taking out. I can't be bothered to retype it all, so I'm actually copy pasting it out of my previous one. Pathlib player name equals OS. Oh no, hang on a minute. I need to import OS, not pathlib. That's a different thing. OS. And I might also import date time as well, just in case I do want to use the real date and time at any point. Now, if I go into script, I can actually say I need to create a character before I do anything else in my declarations. So I'm going to say MC equals character, and I'm just trying to think now. It's amazing how you get caught out when you're trying to think. My God, looking back at my old code, you think, All right, yeah. So define, yeah, sorry, I'm having a proper brain fart today. I need to define the character. I'm now going back to the old permutation of the game so that I can get some things the same. The main character is going to be called Jake. And just copy these bits rather than retyping them. Cool. And now in script we can have the MC. In fact, I might actually just hash this out initially. I think that's a capital N for player name. Let's have a look in classes. Player name, yes. It could very well throw a hissy fit. Could very well. There you go. It's accessed my name and it knows my name. Yes, I want to quit. Small things make me laugh. Violent lightning. That's not ideal, is it? If you wore a suit made out of copper weave, it would just go round you. It wouldn't go through you. Human body has an approximate resistance of 1000 ohms, dependent on moisture and other factors, temperature. It takes 30 milliamps to kill a human being, which means you only need 30 volts of electricity. It could potentially kill a human being. Yeah, 1.21 gigawatts as opposed to gigawatts. Right, I've completely lost the plot now. I can't remember what I'm doing. Oh yeah, right. So we've got that. So every action that we take in game is going to have a period of time associated with it, apart from conversations. What I'm going to do in this version that I haven't done in previous versions is, if it's rather than having text coming up on the screen in the chat box, if it's just exposition, if there's no user interactions involved, I'm going to do it as an animation instead, i.e. it's going to be a video that plays as a cutscene. Some people may like that, some people may not. I'm figuring, do you know what? I don't really care. That's how I'm going to do it. Not every conversation is going to be that way, because that would take forever. But I'm going to do it for like longer cutscenes, just do animations. It means that if you're dumb enough to skip it and miss the exposition, miss the storyline, then you have no clue what's going on afterwards. But also, it's just something different that I believe I've already done one. Let me have a look in output. No, not there. In videos, D. Oh, I think I put it in actually in my renders folder. What's going on there? What is that? Oh no, that's nothing. That's nutting. So what's the base storyline you're going for? Are you asking me what the storyline of Deeper is, or? Deeper is a exploration. That's what I'm going to say. Into the human psyche. It was never intended to be an quote-unquote adult game, but in order to explore the range of... Bear in mind that the main character is a teenage boy whose family are victims of circumstance, shall we say, and he has to step up and become the man of the family. Which can be, for someone his age, can be very confusing and very difficult. So there are aspects of it that you can't explore the full range of experiences that a teenage boy lives through unless you explore things like the Oedipus complex and even the Electra complex a little bit, among the many other sort of facets of that exploration. But because of the platform that I originally attempted to market it on, everyone just assumed that it was a porn game, which it wasn't. And many people learned very quickly, to their disappointment, when they started playing it and were like, there's no sex. And it's like, well, there's some, but it's not all about shagging. Right. But actually find the animation I wanted to. I might have actually already put it in the folder. I don't really have any thoughts, to be honest. I don't play with them enough. I'm aware of iClone 7 and its uses. It's certainly better for animation than Daz Studio is. The frustration I have with all of these kind of things is the cost. Unfortunately, as a game dev, you can't afford to just rattle around using illegal copies of software, so you have to have legit licenses for stuff. And that means you've got to really think about what software you're going to use before you start using it. The likes of ZBrush cost loads of money, Maya loads of money, and so, you know, Blender is free, Daz Studio is free. You can do all right with those things. For me, animation software has to really be yeah, precisely. You know, it is just the cost of being a game dev. There are so many indie game devs out there who are using sketchy versions of software and stuff, but the problem is that, as well, you may or may not know, sooner or later it catches up to them. Sooner or later they get caught out, and that can be a very expensive mistake to make. Like, so if you're going to start a legit game dev company, start with the free stuff. Start with your Daz Studios, your Blenders. Get the money in so that you can afford to buy the licenses legitimately for the other bits of software like Maya and ZBrush and all of that stuff. And do your research. Find out which software is going to work best for you. There are trial versions of all these bits of software. So, you know, do a trial of ZBrush, do a trial of Maya, do a trial of 3ds Max, Cinema 4D, iClone 7, and all that stuff. Find out which one works best for you, because the functionality in those is different, but the output is largely the same. I wouldn't want to venture to say that any one of them has got a higher output quality, apart from Daz Studio, which is output quality when it comes to animation is very low. See if I can trigger some fanboys today. The thing is, Jordan, if everything that I explore is never going to be to everyone's liking, you know. Like, if you put BDSM into a game, you're opening yourself up to, and I'm not saying I'm not going to do it, because I kind of did in the first version of the game. There was a storyline that you could go down that would allow you to explore that. But immediately you're opening yourself up to constant criticism, to people who are actually interested in that sort of thing, because, oh, you didn't represent this correctly, or this was wrong, or, oh, there's not enough leather, or there's too much leather, or, you know, it's like there's so many different aspects of BDSM now that no matter what you do, somebody's gonna whinge. So yeah, it's tricky. It is tricky. Unreal Engine 4, Unreal Engine 5 is now available for free as well. It's in beta, but it's free. And it is amazing. Like, you can have a first-person shooter game created in a weekend if you wanted to. It would be crap, and no one would buy it, but you could, you know... Because they've linked with Quixel, who do the mega scans, so they get, like, really high-quality game world assets. And you can sort of just drag them straight into Unreal Engine 5 and build your game world with that sort of thing. Yeah, man. That's the kind of stuff, you know what I mean? Like I say, it always catches up to people sooner or later. Because you think about, and precisely what Brad's saying, if your boss, if you work for a software development company and the boss is so tight that he's not going to fork out for the official licenses for the software, chances are he's too tight to look after his employees properly as well. So sooner or later, someone's going to get pissed and they're going to rat on you. Like even so, for a Deeper first version of Deeper I had, there was a brief hint where of game footage where Jake sees his mum in the shower, and so no actual incest actually happened in the game. However, one of my competitors, shall we say, ratted me out to Patreon, and they shut me down straight away. No negotiation, because I wasn't making very much. I was only making like $200. It was during the time of the purge, so they weren't even checking the content. They were just taking the reports at face value and blanket banning people. And I got proper screwed. Yeah, I agree. It does. You're absolutely right, Jordan. It is. I don't know how long the delay is here, so this conversation might be the longest conversation in the world. It does go with the territory. I mean, I'm more than most probably am aware of how much criticism you can receive. But I like doing my research. About stuff that I don't want to represent something incorrectly in my game. So there are certain things that I can read about and do my research on. But there are some subjects that are just so massive in scope that it would take me hours to do. And let's say I'm aware that I'm going to hit criticism no matter what I do. But then I get that day in, day out with the YouTube channel. Like, it gets to the stage where you almost don't want to read the comments, because 50% chance when you go through the comments in the morning that there's going to be some douchebag just crapping on you for the sake of crapping on you because they think it's funny. I do read all the comments to all the videos and I try to respond as much as possible, but there are some that I just can't think of a response. You know, you get ones of people who say, "Oh, I've copied everything you've done and it's not working." You're like, "Well, clearly it does work because it works in the video." And they're like, "No, I've copied it." And then 5 seconds later, they're like, "Oh, I fixed it. It was a typo." And it's like, yeah, but Subscribestar are not safe. The world is run by 3 banks. You know, all the money in the world goes through the same 3 banks, and if they deem it necessary to shut down sites like Subscribestar, they're no more safe than Patreon is. And Subscribestar have a very sketchy prohibition kind of feel to them. You know, when you request the money, you request a payout. It feels very much like someone has to run to the bank and pay the money into your account manually, which, I don't know, just has a very, like, they may very well be a fully legit organization who are just working around the system, but I don't know, there's just something there's an undercurrent there that just feels like weird, wrong. Let's have a look. How's that render doing? That's not a render. That's Daz Studio itself. How's the render doing? Ah, we're getting there now. So the grain is still there. But if you look at a photo taken in low life, that has grain as well because the sensor. But because I've oversampled, this is like it's like 30% oversampled. So when I shrink it down to normal size, a lot of that noise is going to go. And I'm going to fix it in post anyway. The actual, like, and I'm not by far not an expert in this. I've just got my own experience. Being an independent game developer isn't just a case of downloading Unity and tapping some code in, stealing some assets from other games, putting them together and then making a buck. There are a lot of games on Steam that have done that, but they will get severely rogered in the bumhole when the actual copyright owners of those assets find out. Yeah, I absolutely 100% agree, Brad. I think once Subscribestar are big enough, once their turnover reaches a certain point, they'll draw the attention of just entirely the wrong people. And the thing is, like, OnlyFans had it happen to them. But the thing is, OnlyFans was a knee-jerk reaction because all they were told was that they needed to start validating the age of everybody in the content on the videos on their website, because there were a lot of creators who were, they might have validated their own age, but they were including third parties in their video, like their boyfriends or girlfriends or whatever, who weren't being age verified. So the payment processors quite rightly said these content creators need to operate along the same way that legit porn sites do, and they need to provide identification for everybody in the videos, not just the person who created it. And OnlyFans' knee-jerk reaction was, well, that's going to be too much work, we'll just ban explicit content, to which they received severe kicking on social media, which, let's be honest, as little sympathy as I have for the people who are creating that kind of content without thinking about these kind of things, you know, I dug my heels in and complained and ranted and got angry when Patreon took my earnings away because I didn't even have real people in my content. They're imaginary people, you know. Their lives, their existence on the planet is entirely conditional on my decision whether or not they live or not, you know. And yet Patreon deemed it that it was unsuitable for me to present my content on their platform. But yeah, nowhere safe. If you're making money from that kind of content, then you have to be prepared to face the consequences. Sooner or later, it's all going to get taken away from you. Unless you operate within the realms of what is deemed acceptable, at least at the time. I know that there's a lot of this posthumous stuff going on at the moment where, like, comedians and actors and stuff are being strung up by the liberal elite over things they said a decade ago or whatever, but the majority of that can be mitigated against with a little bit of common sense. But if you're already outside the realms of what's acceptable, your content's not going to age well. Yeah, precisely. So they had absolutely no defense when they tried to ban it, because it was like, well, at least Patreon started out with a slightly more slightly more ambiguous, shall we say, mission in that they wanted to give all creators a platform, and they were quite happy for all creators to include sex workers, adult content creators, and whatever, right up to the point where Visa turned around and went, no. And they really did crap the bed and just banned it outright. But there's still a huge, huge population of sex workers working on Patreon. Huge. Now, OnlyFans was legitimately created as a way for... That was literally their raison d'etre. They wanted to capitalize on the number of... So, as a photographer, I deal with models a lot. And one of the biggest, most common complaints that I hear from models is that they don't like the fact that they get paid £40 an hour, £35 an hour, or whatever. They go and do a photo shoot, and then the photographer will take their images and sell them or put them in their portfolio or whatever. But for £40 an hour, which like in a 3-hour photo shoot is 120 quid, there are pictures of their vagina and breasts and things like that floating around on the internet forevermore. And they felt like they weren't getting a fair slice of the pie, which you can argue either for or against. But that was how modelling works, and is still how modelling works. You get paid for the time that you work. The photographer owns the images. OnlyFans capitalised on that by offering models a way of making money from pictures of their breasts and vagina and other such content, but cutting out the middleman, so they were getting it on their own terms, essentially. So, like, some of the first really successful OnlyFans people were just freelance models who wanted to make a buck, you know, wanted to earn money on their own terms rather than being at the behest of photographers, which I can understand. I totally get it. As a photographer myself, I see it from the other side as well, but I understand why a lot of models, if you're only in it for the money and you're not making very much money, absolutely you're going to find an alternative. There are a lot of models out there who still enjoy doing the freelance modeling stuff, where they're just doing art nude and they're doing fashion or lingerie or whatever, and they're doing quite well at it. But if you're only really interested in making as much money as possible while you're young enough to do so, then OnlyFans is a no-brainer, isn't it, really? Yeah, absolutely. Independent platform, precisely. And the number of freelance models who quit modeling and went just to solely live on OnlyFans, understandably, when OnlyFans tried to ban the content that they were selling, they got quite upset by that. I don't blame the models for getting pissy about it at all. I'm curious to what the delay is now. What is the delay? Content. Live. Oh no, I can't do it that way. Weird. YouTube is weird. 44 subscribers to go. And that was not a hint. Okay. If I clap like this. 2, 3, 4. Oh, there you go. It's only a 5-second delay. There was me thinking there was like a 2-minute delay and the conversation was making no sense at your end. That's not too bad. 5 seconds after nearly... How long have I been streaming for now? 2 hours? That's pretty good. My internet service provider has done me well today. Right, what was I going to do? Code. What, 10,000? No, you get it at 1 million. So I need 100 times more subscribers than I currently have. So given that it's taken me 4 years to get 10,000 subs, I may have to change the content I create. Otherwise, I'm not going to see a play button until I am about 450 years old. I had to do some mental arithmetic then. It was difficult, could you tell? 100,000 still, so 10 times, yeah. So I'm still going to be 80 by the time I get a silver play button. The problem we have, and this is only my opinion, and it may be an ill-informed opinion, but I'm going to say it anyway, and potentially get cancelled. People want socialism and they want authoritarianism when it suits them, but then when it doesn't suit them, they want capitalism, free enterprise, and they want nobody telling them, freedom of speech, basically. They want to not have authoritarianism. So you have literally the same people pulling and pushing themselves, because you'll tend to find that models and these content creators are very liberal and very lefty when it suits them, right up to the point where someone says, yeah, you can't make money like that anymore. Then all of a sudden it's about freedom of speech and free enterprise. So it's like there's literally a tug of war going on where the same people are on both sides of the rope. Personally, I don't give a crap. I sit right in the middle. Right in the middle. I'm a true Brit. Centrist all the way. I see the benefits of both, and I reap the rewards of both. But unfortunately, being a fence sitter, you have to be willing to accept the consequences of one side getting the better of everything. It's like a pendulum, a huge pendulum swinging backwards and forwards. But social media is, as people are, yeah, quite literally. But if you look at Twitter, it's very, very left leaning in the content that you get fed on your newsfeed and that sort of thing. So you would think that, oh, the ultra right have got all the power and all that sort of thing, but they really haven't have that. I mean, you can sit and watch like these award shows and see these millionaires who ironically have made all their money by free enterprise lecturing us about how socialism and communism are much better ways of living. And it's like, who are you to tell me? Seriously. Being told by a millionaire that money isn't everything and that we should all just be super nice to each other. Right, what was I doing? So we've got add time. Add time's going to work. That's fine. It's great. We've got an avatar. So we've decided on the naming format for our avatars. We've got messages. So messages is going to be a list that every time the character sends you a text message, it gets added to this list, and then the list is then presented to you in a screen which looks oddly similar to like a WhatsApp or an iMessage screen, each one presented in its own bubble, which is something that I did in the original game and quite liked, but so many different features were sort of collapsing into that game that it just became unsustainable, and it was quite difficult. How is Daz Studio doing now? Is that even close to being good enough? It's nearly there. It's nearly there. Anyone got any Ren'Py questions while I'm coding? Right, next class. Next class. Are there classes for Ren'Py? Yes and no. If you work your way through my playlist of Ren'Py content, you will be more than suitably educated in how to use it. But Ren'Py is just a module that's built on top of Python. So if you learn how to code in Python, you can code in Ren'Py, basically. I can guarantee that every single millionaire on the planet got where they are today by screwing somebody else over. Apart from maybe lottery winners, but I guarantee you they've probably screwed somebody over in their lives as well. This notion that you can get rich by being super kind to everybody. YouTube is a prime example. There isn't a YouTuber out there who's at the top tiers of where they're making 7 figures, who hasn't shafted somebody else in the process by either lying, plagiarism, general just antisocial behavior or in general. But every single one of them has got there by screwing somebody else, and that's just the way it is. That's why they spend so much time telling everyone else to be nice, because they know that nice people aren't likely to get to where they are. So they're keeping the competition down. But you look at the antitrust lawsuits that have been held up against Facebook recently. They've got to the stage now where they just buy the competition. They bought Giphy, which is a platform that's used by a lot of the other major social media platforms to host GIFs. The intention was that they were going to prevent the other social media platforms from being able to use it, thus screwing with the competition until the antitrust lawsuits. There's one in the UK that fined them, I think, something like 50 million, maybe 500 million. I can't remember the exact number. I think it was 50 million. So they got fined in the UK for it. But I don't know about the rest of the world, but they get like antitrust lawsuits filed against them all the time because they buy up companies that provide services to their competitors. You look at VR. Facebook own, I think it's like 75% of all VR content on the planet, because they sell the headsets themselves. And what they're trying to do is prevent the competition from being able to basically get off the ground. If you can stop your competition from getting big enough to be your competition. Yeah, it's a slap on the wrist, but there's legal. It's not just give us money. There's obviously legal ramifications as well. So it's an antitrust lawsuit is inevitably going to end in a slap on the wrist, but it's also that there will be legislation put against them to say you can't do that. You have to break up the company. Whereas most of us, because let's be honest, the way that I run this channel, the point of this channel is to try and save you guys money, to stop you from buying products you don't need to buy. I'm sending the money in the direction of the people who create assets that are actually useful. So rather than giving money to, I'm not going to name names, but the people who make the crappy tutorials on the Daz Studio store, or the people who make camera presets. Why would you buy a camera preset off the Daz Studio store? It's literally like a dozen properties in the properties panes. Anyway, the people are spending money on these things when they take seconds to create yourselves. Whereas there's people out there like Biscuits who spend hours, days, weeks, however long, building their assets, actually putting effort and skill and time into their products. Save your money, buy the products from the people who make the good products like Biscuits. Don't waste your money on these HDRIs that you can find in HDRI Haven, or these tutorials that you can find on my channel, or the products that I teach you how to make. Just, you know. Well, that's precisely what Facebook are doing, isn't it, Aracor? They're trying to pull the ladder up so nobody else can compete with them. Problem is, there's already people on the same platform as them, such as Twitter, and Facebook are never going to be able to buy Twitter. But there's a huge antitrust lawsuit going on against Facebook at the moment, where they're trying to get Facebook to break up, to separate WhatsApp and Instagram from Facebook, so that they're not, because again, that's kind of dominating the competition a little bit. And as we've been made aware of very recently, Facebook are very clever and manipulative in what information they put out to people. I don't know, like, I'm a small YouTuber. I, you know, if I ever get to the stage where I'm actually able to make real money from doing this job, it'd be incredible. But let's be honest, it's probably never going to happen. I'm quite happy just doing what I do. This is, you know, I already work 2 full-time jobs. Well, 1 full-time job, 1 part-time job on top of it, and then I do Facebook and the game dev stuff in my free time. So it's it is what it is. Yeah, precisely. If you're having fun, that's the main thing. It's like, I know guys who go out and spend thousands of dollars or thousands of pounds on photographic equipment they don't know how to use. You know, all the gear, no idea, and it's, you can't fault them for it. Like, I'm a big fan of gadgets, I just can't afford them. You know. And if it makes them happy, that's all that matters. If you're happy, brilliant. That's amazing. Keep doing what you're doing, man. Right, so class. This one's going to be called place. It's going to be object. And it. No, that's the wrong way around. God damn, it's define the init of the class, not init the define of the class. Okay, so this one is going to have self. It's going to have name. It's going to have a nice name. I'm going to have an open and a close time. Oh no, I can have a list. I call it an hours list, and then that just makes life easier. Yeah, as long as you keep the rigging, as long as you keep the bones the same name as the Daz Studio bones, you can even use pre-bought poses, pre-made poses. Hours list is active or locked. Let's give it a locked property so that we can unlock them. Don't think I need any other properties for the per locations at the moment. That's quite handy. Oh, another property. Map. Goes map. No. No. Right, map icon then. That tells us if it's a location that appears on the map, or if it doesn't have an location on the map. And we're going to have to make it a parent as well. In case it's a sub-location, so you don't see my bedroom on the map, you see my house on the map. Once you get into my house, then you can go to my bedroom. Cool. Still 44 subscribers. It's going to take me days to get that. Don't think the place needs any. Don't really think that needs an avatar or a background image property, purely because the screen can do all of that. The screen will just say, if you're in this location and it is unlocked, then we'll show you this image dot time of day dot variant or whatever. I don't think I need to add any more properties to that class. Yeah, to be fair, the overwhelming majority, I mean like literally like 98% of my viewers are from the States. My analytics makes for very interesting reading, and yet they're online at tea time in the UK, which in the US is like first thing in the morning / lunchtime. So that's kind of crazy to me. So we're like, because my videos go live at midnight in the UK, in the States it's like 5, 6, 7, 8 p.m. Which I suppose is probably what, yeah, that makes sense. I never even really thought about it like that. Yeah. But yeah, midnight in the UK is sort of tea time in the States, isn't it? That's probably why I hadn't even. That's not why I publish my videos at midnight in the UK. It's just that's what the first option is when I schedule a video. Well, that's the beauty of this game, Jordan, is that the MC's personality is whatever the player wants it to be. Every action that you take, every decision you make, I should say, has a direct impact on what other characters think of you, because the characters have their fixed personalities. So some like you being rebellious, some like you being very straight-laced. So they all kind of, their opinions of you change dependent on how you play. It is entirely possible to do the whole, you know, like when you play Mass Effect and sometimes you want to do the renegade action to get the perfect ending. And sometimes you have to do the Paragon thing. But if you do that, it kind of nerfs your ability to be an Ultra Paragon or an Ultra Rebel. So that's the idea behind this game, is that there are certain statistics that will change dependent on where you what you do. So I'm in this weird place at the moment where I could go down the route of just having Let's Code Season 2 kind of icons for the players, where if you walk into a room, they're there at the front of the room and you click on them if you want to talk to them. That is one option that I can do. Or I can do what I did in the first permutation of Deeper, where if you walk into the room, their icon looks like it's part of the background image, and you click on it and it'll animate if you hover over it. Benefits and drawbacks to both. Benefits of the first version is that it's a lot less labor intensive. I don't have to do different versions of the avatars for time of day. I just have to do different versions of them dependent on their mood. So happy, sad, angry, whatever. So less labor intensive, but also immersion is lower than if I do it where they look like they're part of the background image and they animate when you hover over them. Yeah. Are you getting a massive delay, Jordan? Because like I've just checked I checked on my stream. That's why I did that clap thing a few minutes ago, and I'm only seeing about 5-second delay. But you seem to be like either that or you're just typing really slowly. So the lazy part of me, or the part that wants to kind of get deeper done, is saying to me to do the first version where I just have them like I'm trying to think of a game that does it. The statistics management game Superpowered does it, where they appear at the front of the room in front of you, and you just click on them to interact with them. In fact, Red Swallow, the game that I did, which is also a statistics management game, did the same thing. I'm trying to decide whether it's bad enough for immersion to not do that, or if I would get away with doing it, because it is a lot simpler, a lot quicker. I honestly don't know. I don't really have strong feelings either way. I'm leaning towards I should probably do it where they look like they're part of the background image. But in a game the size of Deeper, that is a huge undertaking. I know because I've already done it once. The fraction of the game that I wrote on the previous version of the engine already took like 18 months to do the renders that I'd done for that, and they weren't even that good. Just to be clear, this is not my bedroom. This is my sort of living room. It's not really a living room because it's got my computer, which takes up probably 30% of the space. Then I've got that area, which is where all the crap that doesn't fit in this area goes, like my TV, my fan, my rowing machine, and my refrigerator. And then the other thing, the stuff that's that way, is my kitchen, because it's open plan. I don't actually have a couch, because I never sit anything. I don't sit and watch TV. I get home from whichever of my two jobs I'm at the time, and I sit straight down on my computer and I start working on the YouTube or one of my games. That could be part of the problem. I know I look knackered. I do apologise for the state of my face right now. That's the problem with only sleeping for like 4 hours a night and spending so much time trying to create content. It kills you. Yeah. Yeah. Fair play. Right, I'm kind of getting to the stage now where I'm happy that the grain in this image is manageable. So I'm going to stop that. Stop that render. I wonder if that still actually works. I haven't done anything to it for such a long time. Please don't open on this screen. Please don't open on this screen. Ah, you bugger. Ooh, I forgot I had music in there as well. Does anyone remember this? You can't hear the music, so it's fine. I can't remember what the opening scene is like, so that's why I'm keeping it off screen while I... Yeah, there's boobs there. do like this old UI that I made though. Right, so this is kind of what I was talking about in terms of like you walk into the room and the characters that are in the room are standing in front of the background image like this. This is one potential way that I can do it. As you can see, this game also accesses the real date and time, so it doesn't have the real time, but it accesses the real date. You progress through it. It just sort of like gets the today's date as the starting date, and then you move forward through time from there. It's also got these options like there. You've got your contextual menu, so because I'm in the gym, I can do different types of training. I kind of like going this now. I don't know why I stopped doing this for navigation. I think it was just because the map idea was. But I might actually stick with this kind of UI for the new version of Deeper, where you just navigate to places using this rather than the map screen. And then you've got a character screen there and there. I know that a lot of my UIs tend to look very much the same, but that's kind of my thing. I'm very much a minimalist kind of guy. So there's this idea of a UI that I'm kind of leaning towards just because it's simpler. And then there's obviously the other kind of UI, which is, let's find an example of that. Pardon me. Huzzah. So this is the other kind of interface that I was talking about, where the characters are actually part of the background, and as you can see, this character's animated now. She's breathing heavily, which is something I need to fix because she's not got no reason to breathe heavily. But as you can see, you hover over it and it comes up with a, and then if you click on it, then any dialogue that you have with her starts. So those are the two kinds of options that I'm thinking of. This is a lot more labor intensive doing it this way, but it's more immersive. It takes like 10 seconds for this scene to load because there's an animated character in it, and that is something that is an issue with Ren'Py. Big issue with Ren'Py is that the loading time for film strip animations is quite long, so I could just have it not animated and just have her as part of the background like this, just not animated. But again, I'm 50-50. I could go either way at the moment, to be honest. Really am 50-50. Right, let's go back to camera uno. No, not that one. Oh, Jake's not in the scene, that's why. Oh, okay. Volition, is that the place or the name of the company? I know there's a game dev company called Volition. Right, I think I'm going to need another camera. Her head looks really awkward in this position. It looked all right prior. Do you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to save this motherfucker. I'm going to edit the images I already have. Because I'm a badass. Ah, there you go. Nice. There you go, ladies and gents. You've got someone who works for a legit game studio on the stream. Can't remember which Volition games I've played, but I know I have played them. So we have a little bit of bleed through on the right hand side. Up the opacity a little bit. And then in contrast, we're going to have a little bit of shadow over in this corner. Oh, okay. Fair play, man. I'm very jealous. If I hadn't have crapped the bed, see, I was a bright spark. I was doing a BTEC National Diploma in Computer Studies, and I was, when I started the course, I was a 16-year-old boy, had ambitions of becoming a programmer, but I also had ambitions of moving out from my parents' house for reasons we won't go into. But so anyway, I had to get a job, and I found that the college course was focusing. There's plenty of programming in it, but I was moving a lot quicker than the other people in my class in terms of like coding. They might have been brilliant at the other stuff, but programming, I was running rings around everybody. So I got bored because I wanted to progress and do more and more advanced things, and we were stuck doing friggin' databases and crap like that. So because I was so bored with college, because I was, you know, not struggling with the course, let's put it that way, I decided to start spending more time working, and then very quickly the ratio of hours at work and hours at college the balance flipped, and so they called me in and had some interviews with the college, and they said, you know, you need to start turning up for class because, you know, you're going to fail. And they said, why aren't you turning up? And I said, because, you know, the course is moving too slowly and I'm not learning anything most of the time. Because I'm just one of those people who's got a quite good memory for like stuff like that, languages, and then in the end, like come the second semester, which was literally, it was a 2-year course, I just bailed, started working at McDonald's full time. Sort of inadvertently, it was because I needed to. I was living in my own flat, so I needed to pay the bills, and that was the massive commitment for a, you know, at the time 17, 18-year-old lad. So I ended up not finishing the college course, and then you know, a couple of years later, it didn't really occur to me what I had done, because at that age you'd think you've got all the time in the world to decide what you want to do. And yeah, I realised a little bit too late that I'd thrown away my chance of building a career doing what I actually wanted to do. So I ended up joining the armed forces as an engineer, which was all right. It was good. I had a good life, good time. didn't really think about coding for a few years, and then like towards maybe 2007, 2008, I started getting back into it because I started playing a lot of MMOs, and I started getting really back into the gamer culture and enjoying playing them, and then I started having thoughts about going back into it. But at the end of the day, you got to pay the bills. College and university are two different things in the UK. Yeah, college is like what you do from age 16 to 18. And then university, you have to get that's where you do your A levels. And then once you've got your A levels, you can go to university and do your degree or your master's or whatever it is you're going to do. So, yeah, I worked for myself for 10 years. So I tried doing photography, and then I did pretty well. Was quite successful at that. Got published a lot. And then, but then I went away and worked on the cruise ships as a photographer for a bit of a travel because I missed being traveling. And anyway, yeah, so one thing's led to another, and now I'm back in engineering. If I were in a situation where I could go and work in the game development world, I would absolutely love to, you know, and I have aspirations of running my own game development house and all that sort of thing. But right now, because I've made so many stupid decisions in my life, that the one that we just talked about being the first one, I've missed a couple of decades of growing up that a lot of people have had. So, you know, I need to buy a house and all that sort of thing. I need to get a mortgage, so I need to sort out my finances and sort out my life first. So I've got 35, 40 years left of my working life ahead of me, because by the time I get to retirement age is going to be 70 plus in the UK. And I'm only 40, 41 now. So I've got plenty of time. At the moment, I'm working as an educator. I teach engineers how to not kill themselves with electricity. Do I want to do that for the rest of my life? Don't honestly know. It pays the bills, you know, and then the extra stuff I do on the side. I'm a qualified personal trainer, and I still do the photography as a side hustle as well. But I just want, you know, so yeah, further down the line, I would love to get into doing game development professionally full time, but right now it's not on the cards, purely because, you know, unless the likes of Bethesda phone me up and say we want to take you on as a game designer or a programmer or whatever, the chances of that happening are very, very slim, because unfortunately, as many of you know, it's extremely cutthroat, and I'm only one person, little old me, only with my 10,000 subscribers ish. There are people out there with far more. So we'll just keep doing what I'm doing for now. Anyways, yeah, circling back around to my point is, yeah, so I kind of crapped on my own chances of working in game development. Yeah, I mean, Activision and Blizzard have not done a great deal for the PR side of being a game developer. But not all companies are like Blizzard Activision. And let's be honest, this is possibly going to get me cancelled, right? But what today is considered to be toxic work environment 20 years ago was work environment. There was no toxic about it. That's just what work environments were like. Not necessarily with the frat boy kind of attitude that some of the reports claim Blizzard Activision is like, but your boss giving you a bollocking for doing something wrong was the standard practice 20 years ago. And people like me, we're used to that. I'm not going to go out and give people a bollocking for doing things wrong, but I'm used to having people talk to me in that way. And when you walk into a work environment where everyone's super nice and super supportive all the time, it almost feels disingenuous, kind of cringy. You're like, right, what are they after? I haven't heard anything about Project Red, but I would be, I'm perfectly willing to believe that it's true. Yeah, man. I would say that is a good bit of luck, because, you know, they're a reputable games house, you know. The thing with starting up a business like that is more often than not, this isn't, I'm not talking about Volition now, I'm just talking about starting a game development house in general. There's normally one person who has all the money and hires everybody else. There aren't many kind of community style projects where maybe like a programmer, an artist, and a marketing guy all come together and just form a company like that, because somebody always has to stump up the money because everybody else wants getting paid. So I'm not in a position where I can do something like that. If I can find people like artists and marketing guys and musicians and things like that who will want to kind of collaborate on a project together and have equal share of the returns, then that's obviously something that can be done. But realistically, the only way I'm going to turn TG or GDT or whatever the name is when it happens into a company is if I manage to land some big sponsorship deals or something like that on YouTube, so that I actually have the capital to put in the company in the first place. Yeah, kind of like a co-op or a Kickstarter even. But yeah, I've tried a Kickstarter before. It did not go well. I had like one person pledge $1. It's like, yeah, great, okay. So maybe that idea is not going to be so popular then. That was to make that was actually to do a City of Heroes spin-off, a game based on City of Heroes within the safety of copyright. Yeah, co-ops. But you know, so forming a co-op, I'm not a businessman. I understand the ins and outs of running a limited company because I have done in the past. But you still need to find people that you trust. You know, somebody still has to be in charge to manage the project, don't they? You know. Oh right, I was editing this picture, wasn't I? Son of a bitch. All right, I've got a shadow, I've got a light. Yeah. Defo. Everyone's got to believe in the product, haven't they? Otherwise, it just collapses. As soon as you hit the first obstacle, everyone's just like, "Oh no, I want my money back," and it's just like, it's not how investment works. Unfortunately, you can't just suddenly decide you want your money back. Well, you might be able to. I don't know. I've never had anyone invest in me, to be honest. Got loads of people offering me money for things like tuition and stuff like that, but I just haven't got the time. Haven't got the time. Like finding 2 or 3 hours on a Sunday morning to do a stream is a chore. Like that's the reason I put the poll out on the community tab to find out if people actually wanted me to do them or not. And the overwhelming response was people didn't really care. So that's why I stopped doing them regularly. I'm doing one today because I was working on renders anyway, so I figured I might as well, you know, just stream and chat to people while I'm doing it. But, you know, free time is somewhat limited. What am I thinking? What am I thinking? She's looking down here, but I could make this blanket a bit darker as well, couldn't I, really? Just adding a little bit of contrast to it, a little bit of darkness so that the eye is drawn more up this way. I'm not going to bother with flashy lens flares or anything in this because there's no need for them. Can't see any poke through. There's a little bit of a weird situation going on here where that's meant to be in shadow. I just draw a bit of shadow in there, and then that just makes that weird kind of clipping that's happening there look a little bit more natural, like it's meant to look like that. Other than that, I'm pretty happy with that one. Flatten image. Flatten the image. Control S. 12, please. Right, I can get rid of that one. Rename that one. Close it down. This one is outdoors and has some brighter light on it, so let's see what we can do here. Light's obviously coming from up here. I'll make that a smidge brighter again. Don't need shadow because the eye is drawn. Clearly, the shot is looking at this, so I might just add a bit of a lens flare to this, and then I might even add some birds in that corner, actually. That would be pretty cool. Oh, I gained a subscriber. 43 subscribers to go. I don't need a shed load. No, some crafty bugger's gone and put... See when people do that. You're going to put a PNG template on the internet. Don't be a dick and put cross-hatching in the background. You douchebags. Oh, that's a friggin' JPEG, that is. Let's see. Let's have a look and see how that looks if I drag it into the image. And then we've got to blur it slightly because it's in the background. Cool. I try. I do get distracted very easily and go off on tangents. Okay, so we're going to go with a blue and a green and a red. Soft like that, bitch. Opacity down. That's a bit of intrigue. Hopefully I won't be an indie dev forever. Although I don't suppose being being an indie dev or being a AAA dev really there's not that much difference these days, except AAA devs have probably get paid slightly more. Unless you work for the fun pimps, in which case you just milk that early access cow for 8 years. That'll work for that one. If I drop the opacity down of that slightly, then create a new layer, and I'm going to go. I honestly have no idea, not having worked in a professional capacity from, well, not in game dev world anyway. Blur it lots. And then mask it, and we're on the black. We're on the black. Get rid of it from Lucy's head there, and you tit. Come on, come on. And this one definitely needs some kind of flare. So we'll go red, a green, a blue, and then mask this baby out so it gets weaker at the ends. Well, that's true. That's true. There is that drawback to working for big companies. You have to do what the company wants, not what you want. Hey, Biscuits. I was just talking about you a couple of hours ago. I was telling everyone to buy your product. And if I drop the opacity of that layer down a smidge, and then create one last layer over the top of everything. Everyone's going to start thinking I'm on your payroll if I'm not careful. Is that too bright? Yeah, maybe you need to come down, pull back on that a little bit more, just make it a little bit more of a subtle effect. That's better. Save. All right. And then last but not least, this one, the troubled child of my renders from this morning. She's actually looking at Jake, but it does, I will admit, look a bit like she's looking at the camera. Perhaps if I select the brush tool, doesn't it really? And then, so there's a lot of light coming off there because it's reflective and it's sunny as frick outside. And I'm going to just bleed over a little bit there and there as well so that the eye's drawn to her face. It depends on what I'm doing, mate. If I'm just doing like simple editing images there, I'm not using the graphics tab now, I'm just using a mouse. But if I'm working on an actual photograph which requires me to be a little bit more subtle, then I use pen tab for that because you need more kind of finesse. But for this kind of stuff, I don't. Well, it's very kind of you, Jordan. It's very kind of you. Obrigado. I think I'll leave that and just drop the opacity down a smidge. Well, I might actually add a little bit of a kind of a specularity to this front door, or maybe of this glass here, because it is pointed in roughly the same direction as the sun. So, if I go from that kind of size, then go down a few, then that, then that. Then I will do my lens flare emanating from that point, and it being very small. So we're going to go idiot, blue, green, slightly bigger, and then red, slightly bigger again. No, soft light, please. And make that really subtle, like only very subtle discoloration there. And what else do I need to do to this to make it look? Debris, that's what I need. I need to put some debris in there. Debris. I'm the kind of person that if I have a daughter, I will call her Deborah E, just so that people call her Debris. I'm that cruel. Downloads, please. I think we'll go with this one. Switch this over to screen and then drop the opacity way down. You just want a little bit of texture over the image, like so. Now I'm going to build a happy little tree. I kind of pretty much as good as it's going to get. Let's flatten this image. And save. Boom. She looks like she's doing a really crap version of the YMCA, doesn't she? From this angle. Let's get her looking back at the Jackie boy. It's been a very diverse subject matter for this stream. Talked about all sorts. Look at each other, please. Accept. Boom. Okay. What's going on there? Let's try that again. One more time. No, actually, that's fine. That's fine. We just don't re-bend that arm so that it's going behind her head. And unbend that wrist. Do. Oh man, it's back to 44 again. Someone unsubbed. Bastards. Makes me sad. Someone's toying with me. It's actually past lunchtime. Son of a gun. I've worked through lunch again. Yeah, it's good to chat to you, my friend. Have a pleasant sleep. Sweet dreams and all that, and I'll see you on... Well, I might see you on the Discord, I might not be there. Your timekeeping, your timing is very different to mine. He says as he yawns and squirts water out of his left eye for some reason. So I played New World a bit yesterday. It was interesting. The thing is, because I have... Back when I first got into MMOs like City of Heroes and World of Warcraft, I had a lot of free time. So I got hooked really quickly. But now, because I don't have so much free time, hardly any in fact, I can only play for like a couple of hours a week or something. So I very much doubt New World is going to get me hooked in quite the same way that the likes of World of Warcraft did. Yeah, they're not wrong. They bloody are sparkling, Mo. They really are. You know, a lot of grinding, a lot of walking around. It's like semi-escapism almost, isn't it? It's like not full escapism because, as you said, it's like going to work just in a different job, but you kind of get to be the person you want to be in that job rather than just being you, the crappy you that you've been born with and had to live with for your entire life. But yeah, 2 hours a week isn't really going to get me hooked on it. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, exactly. If you can only afford $10 a month for a sub for a game, it's a great way of killing time and socializing with people of a similar persuasion. But for people like myself, it's not such a practical thing these days. So it was nice to play. Don't get me wrong. I enjoyed it, what I did play of it. But I doubt I'll be spending a huge amount of time in it. Like my brother's just bought or just built his gaming PC, so he and I'm sort of like introducing him to games slowly. So he and I are going to be playing a lot of like Borderlands 2 and Call of Duty and stuff in our evenings. But Phasmophobia is my game of choice at the moment because it makes me feel things, man. Right, I need to unclick that again. Phasmophobia. It's a ghost hunting game. It's like got a crap ton of spin-offs. The game itself is still in early access, but it's got a lot of spin-offs already because it's been hugely successful. But it's been hugely successful for quite a long time, so it's not like a flash in the pan fad like Among Us was. You know, there was a period of time where for about a month, all you saw YouTubers playing was Among Us, and then as quickly as it came, it was gone. The saving grace of that was it was only like $4 for the game, so it didn't matter. Phasmophobia is like crazy popular and has been for a long time now. Yeah, I enjoyed playing WoW. Aspects of it were unpleasant, like the whole elitism. You had to have the right trainers, you know, you had to have the right gear on, otherwise you couldn't participate in the raid. And being in a guild was, again, very much like having a job, because you had some 5-year-old kid telling you when you had to log in and how long you had to play for, and it was like, yeah, no, I ain't doing that, so I never joined a guild. Well, I did, but I never really participated in any of their reindeer games, because it was like, no, I'm not being told by some 15-year-old when I log in. It's up to me. I play for fun. I don't play for someone else to tell me what to do. But, you know, I enjoyed just having something to occupy my brain when I was perhaps a little less busy. Made some good friends on there. But you have to grow out of these things sooner or later, don't you? And as I say, I'm glad. I'm almost glad that I didn't get sucked into a new world, because I don't want an MMO ruining my life again. You know, I have actually got an awful lot on my plate at the moment, so getting sucked into a game that's going to swallow up most of my free time is just not something that's on the cards for me right now. Fair play to people who do have the time and the inclination to do it still, but playing games on streams though is good for me. I do it like an hour. I was an adult when WoW was released. I was well, I was into City of Heroes, which came just before WoW. So like for the first, I want to say 2 or 3 years of World of Warcraft, we didn't like it. We were like, because you don't get to customize your characters in World of Warcraft, not properly. City of Heroes had huge amounts of customization that you could do to your character, and it was a very friendly, helpful community. There were 1 or 2 douchebags like there are in everything, but it was overall, it was a really positive, happy community. And then you went to WoW, and it was like kids shouting at each other and calling each other noob and all that kind of thing. And it was just like, what in God's name is this all about then? And it took me a while to get into World of Warcraft, but then City of Heroes kind of died, as in like properly died. The company that made it just shut it down. And then I had no choice but to play World of Warcraft. Yeah. Fair play. You could see, the thing is, like, unlike World of Warcraft, which has had a very long, protracted death and is still limping on, City of Heroes died really quickly. Like, in the space of about 2 years, it went from being a contender to being a non-entity, because basically the company that was running it, just, they messed it up so bad. They started letting people create their own missions, which on the face of it sounds like a really good thing. But all that happened was people just made XP farms. And that was like probably 90% of the storage for player-based missions was much like it is now on Homecoming servers, where it's mostly just player-created XP farms so they can level to the top end. But unlike World of Warcraft, which is it's all about the end game content, City of Heroes was really all about the journey. The end game content was okay, but the stuff that you did to get to level 50, which was a level cap, was more important, because there were really good like task forces that you had to do that were like, task forces were like, they were like kind of like raids, but they were a group of like maybe 8 to 10 to 12 missions that you were locked into doing. You couldn't do anything else. You had to follow the storyline. And they were really good. So the problem is people were skipping all that really good content to get to the level cap, and then realizing that there wasn't that much to do once they got there. So they were spoiling the game for themselves, and it was being enabled by the devs, who kept giving players a way of farming XP, and they didn't nerf it quickly enough. and by the time they did nerf it, people were already bored. And then they made it free to play for a bit, if I remember rightly, and they started putting in-game ads in the game, like real world film adverts on billboards and stuff in the game, and you could see it happening. You were just like, what is going on here? And that was it. It was dead. You know, so that happened in the space of like 2 years, 18 months, whereas World of Warcraft has steadily been declining over a very, very long period of time. People are just getting bored of it, and they're bolstering their income by adding microtransactions. There are people who've played since the day that it was launched and will continue to play till the day it dies, and they spend thousands of dollars on microtransactions on mounts that nobody gives a crap about. But that's their fun, and they're enjoying it. That's all that matters. But for someone, you know, my point, the reason I'm saying that is that people will argue the case and say, oh, World of Warcraft isn't dying. It's like, it is. Unfortunately, it is. Yeah, it does. Yeah. The problem with World of Warcraft is that it's been noticeable since, like, I officially stopped playing in the end of the Wrath of the Lich King. So I remember I was walking around Icecrown and I was mining titanium, trying to gather enough resources to build to make my armor, because I couldn't afford the highest armor I could, and I wasn't in a guild. I couldn't get into raids because looking for group back then there was no looking for raid. So if I was going to get into raids, it had to be pugs. So anyway, I was farming for materials to build my armor, and then the server restart. It was like, oh crap, right, I'll log off. Server restart was due. I'd already downloaded whatever update was due. So server restart, turned it off, logged in a little while later, and everything, like my character suddenly got attacked by a low level, an NPC that was at the same level as me, a mob in Icecrown, and it nearly killed me. And I was like, what the hell? I was owning these fools 2 hours ago, and then I checked, and all my talents had been, well, the talent system completely changed. So this character that I'd spent months fine-tuning and like tweaking and perfecting and getting my attack chain down so that I, you know, to my muscle memory, and all of a sudden it was nerfed. It was basically back to, I needed to redo my talents, but they changed the talent system so much that nothing made any sense. And there were all these glowy icons coming up on the screen telling me what, you know, buffs and things I had, and I was just like, I don't really get what's going on here. And I logged off, and I didn't log on again for about 3 years, because I was just like, they've just killed it for me. Like, because you literally, as is often the case in an RPG, not just an MMO, but an RPG, you spend hours of your life building this character. You're fully immersed in the character. You know, you identify as that character when you're in the game, and then the devs, without so much as a, you know, but how's your father, just yank that rug out from under you and like completely destroy your immersion. So yeah, I stopped playing. Next time I came back, I missed Cataclysm, and I came back in Mist of Pandaria, played it for a little while then, and then I can't remember the order now. Then I came back for a little while for crap. Samaria. What patch was that? Anyway, it doesn't matter. I came back a couple times, played for a few months, and then realised that it wasn't just, my love of the game was just destroyed because they just completely ruined it for me. You know, I was enjoying playing my pally. So yeah, that was it really. That was what killed WoW for me. Like you say, yeah, completely killed my motivation. And since then, I just haven't really been, like, I still enjoy playing games, but I don't get sucked into games like I used to. I don't get the full immersive, like, Skyrim's probably the closest I've been to being fully immersed in a game since then. trying to think. Yeah. Ironically, I've actually downloaded the update for WoW because I was playing Black Ops Cold War the other day. And it's on the same. It's on Battle.net launcher, and I keep getting notifications that my subscription for World of Warcraft has run out several years later. And I thought I'll download it, like, and play. I won't pay for it. I'll download and see what the new starting areas are like and that. And I played for literally about 5 minutes. The sound didn't work properly. And I was just like, "No, this is crap. Bye bye." The fact that they haven't given it a they were boasting about a graphical update a while back, weren't they? Because they've animated the characters breathing and made them look slightly more cartoony. But the game looks like crap now. Let's be honest. It's really not an attractive game anymore. Compared to like even the likes of New World, you look at that and it's a pretty game. It's still not perfect, but it's a lot prettier than World of Warcraft is. Unfortunately, it's a 21st century. We're now in the third decade of the 21st century, and games need to be a lot prettier than World of Warcraft nowadays to hold people's attention. Alright guys, I've been talking non-stop for 3 hours and 10 minutes. I need to go and have a break, so thanks ever so much for joining me this morning. It's been really nice chatting to people. I think we should be safe having this on replay, we'll see. But either way, I'll see you again next time. But until then, you take damn good care of yourselves, alright? Ciao for now!